Okay, I kind of wanted to do a follow-up video on my window air unit install. I've received a lot of questions, a lot of views, to my surprise, and so I wanted to try to answer as many of those questions as possible. This is simply a follow-up video. So anyway, the unit still works great. I've had it in the window for, it's been a little over a month, and it still works great. The air is really cold. Right now, it is 91 degrees outside, and I have this set at 77. And it'll run, depending on how hot it is and the time of day where the sun is coming in the windows, it'll run for about 5 minutes, and then it'll shut itself off for about 5-6 minutes, and then do another cycle. So it's not that bad. It really isn't. It doesn't run as much as I thought it was going to run, even on the hottest of days that we've had so far, which has been in the low 90s. So I'm quite impressed that it's been able to cool our dining room and living room. And it's about 650 square feet approximately is what it's cooling. So it's been a really good air conditioner so far, and it's really cold. It's on right now. The compressor is on. It's really cold. It's great. It makes one hell of a difference. So as far as the electricity use, when I was running my central air, and that granted is to cool the entire apartment complex, or the entire apartment unit, that is, which is about 1,250 square feet. I ran the central air for about 6 hours a day, approximately, just to cool it down for about 6 hours a day, and my approximate electricity usage cost went up by about $83. That's approximate. Of course, there's other factors in there, but that's what I figured between the month when I wasn't running central air or the heat, and I was running central air. That's approximately what my cost of electricity went up. Since this has been running for a month, I did get my new electricity bill yesterday, and I was able to compare the two. And my electricity bill with this running versus no air running at all, meaning the month where I didn't have my central air running, my electricity bill went up by $28. So you might argue that, well, I'm only cooling 2 rooms instead of the central air. Well, I can tell you that based on efficiency, the central air unit that we have in here is 40 years old. It's not very efficient, and the rooms that it was cooling, which we spend only our nights in, actually were not that much colder than if we didn't have the air on at all. So they were not being effectively cooled. So we were wasting a lot of electricity just cooling the 2 rooms that we spend most of our time in, which is the living room and the dining room. So the cost savings right there, being nearly about $50 just for the first month, this thing will pay for itself in about a year's time or a summer's time. So I'm actually quite happy with that. I'm quite glad that it's been working as I had hoped. So everything in the unit is fine. It's been great. Now you might notice that I have this foam piece here. I'm actually trying to further increase the efficiency. I just put this up yesterday, so don't mind the tape. That's just there as a placeholder. I'm actually going to be being a little creative, and some of you might think stupid, but I'm actually going to be using these coaxial cable staples to hold this piece. As you can see here, it's just sitting here. Like I said, I just put the tape there to hold it in place. It's not, it's not meant to seal anything out except for keep the light out. So I didn't want to, first of all, I didn't have a drill that I'd be able to, get in there and drill some new holes and put a bunch of brackets here to try to keep this in. But these things are long enough and wide enough where I can just take my hammer and just throw a couple of these down just to hold it. That's all it's doing. It's not meant to seal anything. It's just going to hold it in place. In fact, I could just leave the tape. But the whole point in that is because the sun is rising in the east, sets in the west. My windows face the west. It is really hot during the afternoon here, and I'm on the top floor, and when you have the light coming in this window, it heats up the air. That's just the unfortunate side effect of light coming in your windows, especially sunlight. So I put this foam up here. I basically cut another piece of the leftover foam that I had from the opening here, and I had noticed that the temperature in my dining room was down quite a bit in the afternoon to evening. And that's exactly what I intended it for. That doesn't mean I'm going to put foam up on all my windows and turn this place into a dungeon. But particularly, I wanted to do that with the window that was closest to the air unit, so that the air that was coming into the unit was as cool as possible. It obviously pulls air from inside, recycles it, and then blows it right back out, cooling it at the same time. So that was the goal, and it seems to so far be working quite well. It's about 4:30 right now. The sun is definitely beating in these windows. You can see there's a little bit of light shining through, but it has helped quite a bit. So I'm actually going to be using these wire coaxial staples to hold this in place. Just maybe one or two down there, one or two over there. You know, I mean, really, seriously, it's probably good enough as it is now. Even on the brightest days, I don't think there's going to be much sunlight coming in there. The sun is beating in right now, and I don't see much sunlight coming in at all. So I might just leave it. Yeah, it looks ugly, but I don't really care. I honestly don't. You know, I might leave it like that. So anyway, that has helped out a lot. It really has. And that's pretty much it for the actual install. Now, I did get a couple of comments that you know, this thing could still be pushed out and so on. Yeah, you know, it's always possible, but it's not really something I'm worried about because it is pretty sturdy. I know that you know, some people might argue that there's still a possibility. There's a possibility in everything. I'm more worried about it actually falling into my room than I would be out. And since most of the weight is outside of the window, as well as it being angled downward, and I've tried to pull on this, as you can see here, I'm pulling on it, it's not going anywhere. It would take an awful lot to pull that out, and because it's just so heavy. So anyway, I'm pretty confident that it's going to stay put. I really am. So if you're worried about it, you can always add more clamps or brackets or whatever you wanted to do to fit your situation. Because if this happened to fall out of the window, then it would land on the deck. Alright? Now, if you were worried about kids or whatever, then yeah, obviously you're going to take extra precautions. But fortunately, in this particular setup, most of the weight is outside of the window, and it's supported by that base that I built. So I'm not too worried about it falling inside. So that's great. The next question was, how am I keeping, you know, this is obviously a window air unit. So how am I keeping my dining room and living room cool without cooling the rest of the apartment? And that's actually pretty easy. And this is a solution that I came up with. Every individual is going to have their own solution. And that's this. This is the entryway into my kitchen from my dining room. And what I did is I bought a cheap, you know, window curtain from Walmart. And this is so effective. It's about 77 in this dining room right now. And when I walk into my kitchen, it is literally 90 degrees in here. I'm not kidding. It is so hot. And you can see here what I did is I put up this garage door frame here. Is basically I just went to Home Depot and got this and got some wood screws. That's just to keep it from, if one of my kids started yanking on it, which they have, it's not gonna, you know, come crashing down with the tacks if I decided to use tacks, which I didn't want to. So I wanted something stronger. Now, of course, if you live in an apartment complex and you're drilling holes or whatever in there, you're gonna make sure that when you leave, you fill those holes, because they're probably gonna be pretty pissed. But anyway, this was my solution, and I put one of these at both entryways, one to the hallway from the living room and one to the kitchen from the dining room. So I've effectively isolated my dining room and my living room from the rest of the apartment. And that's really what I wanted to do, because we spend most of our time in these two rooms, so there's no real point in having this thing crank and try to cool the hallway and the bathrooms and the bedrooms. And you could argue that you just close the doors, but I'm telling you, when we just closed the doors, a lot of the cool air still went into the hallways, and this thing was working harder to try to keep it all cool. So by blocking and isolating these two rooms with just something as simple as a $10 window curtain, we were able to keep these two rooms even cooler. The air unit does not run as often. I had it running for about a week without it being cut off, and it was running a lot more, and this really made a difference. We also have one fan, which I don't have on now, just because I'm making this video and it's really loud. But we have this one fan that basically I usually have it sitting here. Don't mind the clothes. I usually have it sitting here, and it'll pull the air from the dining room and spread it across the living room, basically. So that's how I get the air going around in the living room. Plus, it makes a nice breeze. So anyway, that's basically how I did that. It's worked out. It's worked out pretty good for that. So let's go ahead and take a look outside to see how that's holding up, the base and so on. Alright, so we are outside right now, and as you can see, it looks like it's about to rain, of course. We've been getting a lot of rain lately. The humidity is way up there. It is about 91 degrees outside right now, and it is hot. When you get all that humidity and you mix that with heat, it makes for a miserable, miserable feeling. So, as you can probably imagine, with the high humidity and heat, it's not fun. It really isn't. So here's the unit itself. It's running. Of course, there's just blistering hot heat coming out of this thing. But it's running fine, and I really haven't had a problem with water. I haven't seen a single drop of water come out of this, and you probably can't see it. You may be able to see it a little bit in there, but there is water collecting down there. This has been running since about, 10 this morning. The compressor just shut off, which that's part of the energy saving mode. So it keeps running even though the compressor's off and it's still blowing cold air. But I really have not noticed any water coming out of this unit. And at first I was worried that I didn't have it tilted enough. But after checking it for about a week, I just noticed that it just didn't collect that much water. It really didn't. And part of that has to do with the fact that we keep our windows closed. Because when you open your windows and you expose them to the humidity, and of course there's going to be humidity coming in no matter what, but after you shut this off and you open up your windows because it's cool outside, you're letting all that humidity back in right away. And then this air unit the next day has to work to get all that back out. Well, we keep our windows closed to keep the cool air in there as long as possible. So that's just a guess. That's not scientific, but I have not seen any water leak out of this, and I was really worried about that happening. I was really worried that I was going to have an issue with trying to figure out how to get the water to effectively drain, out of my deck and so on, and not drip down on somebody else who's below us and things like that. But it has not been an issue yet, and it's we've had some hot days. So great, it works great. The water isn't in any way an issue. It's been cooling great. It's not that loud. Overall, it's just wonderful, and it's hot and humid out here right now. It really is. It's miserable, so I'm going to go back inside. Anyway, that's just kind of a quick update. I have another video regarding the ceiling of my window, which I'll post because I've been getting several questions about that. So I'll go ahead and throw one of those up later. But for now, I just wanted to answer a few questions on how well it's working. And hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions, please ask. Thank you. It is 95 degrees outside right now with a heat index of 106. I have this thing set for 78. It is not running right now. And that shows you just how efficient it is. And thanks to the modifications I've made to my living room and dining room, it's running. It's just nice being able to keep the living room, dining room this cool. I mean, compared to outside, it feels great, and not have it run pretty much all the time. So yeah, really nice.